Noel MMA, and in today's video, I will be reacting and breaking down the results of UFC Fight Night Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape. Even though beforehand nobody was really excited about this card whatsoever, there's a big finish in the main event, and guys, let's go ahead and talk about this. I didn't even make a prediction on this. Freaking Sean Sharaf and Steven Asplund went to war. And that was the classic, one guy is throwing volume consistently, pepper, just straight shot after straight shot, mixing in a couple combos. The other guy's wilting, getting beat up, and then pretty consistently coming back with big old bombs, big old hooks, and big old shots. But in this friggin' war of a friggin' blob fest at the heavyweight division, no offense, blobs, Steven Asplund, with his volume and better cardio, more accurate strikes, gets it done in a crazy barn burner fight. We had two of them last weekend with Ibo Aslan and Iwo Baraneski, respectively. And then we also had the crazy fight, which wasn't so much sloppy. Kind of was, kind of wasn't, with Terrence McKinney and Chris Duncan. But this is the pinnacle of sloppy fights. The sloppy blobby fights. Sloppy blob fights, blob slop fights. And it was just beautiful to see. And I just want to... Steven Asplund, I mean, you have to think about it this way. With the loose extra skin that he has from losing all that weight. Shout out Steven Asplund for losing a lot of weight. That's awesome, dude. Keep going. Keep working out. Tighten that skin up, dude. You'll look even better. That's so incredible. But what y'all don't realize is they're practically propellers, right? Because when he's moving on his toes and that loose skin, it's like a wave of force, right? So not only does it help propel him forward and makes it easier on his cardiovascular, it also, it brings in a breeze that helps carry those heavy punches of Steven Asplund. So he's able to throw more volume because the wind created by the waves of flab help carry... I'm joking, guys. Okay? Or I don't know, maybe. I'd love to see a scientific research study done on it. But Asplund ends up getting the finish in the second round. Just the volume was too much. Sharaf just got to the point where he wasn't really defending himself. Even though for like a minute and a half straight, you kept thinking it was going to get stopped by the ref. And Sharaf kept returning with big shots, but Steven Asplund stood in the pocket, man. Just kept on the gas pedal for heavyweight, And it's a very, very impressive... It was impressive. I thought this Asplund guy was going to be trash. I won't lie. Sharaf's pretty mid. Not horrible, though. They're worse heavyweights than Sean Sharaf, probably. But hey, they both deserve more than 50K Fight of the Night bonuses. Steven Asplund, give him like 100, dude. That was phenomenal. Post-fight interview was like an hour and a half long. It's a bit corny for my liking, but hey, good on him. I love seeing people lose weight like that. I understand. I've been there. Not that big, but I've been there. Super cool. A new guy in the heavyweight division to root for. I know I'm going to be rooting for the flabbiest of flabs. You got to love it. And I'm not making fun of him, man. I love it. He hit him with the afterwards. I thought that was sick, dude. So, shout out Steven Asplund. Crazy performance, crazy fight. Shout out both guys for being so tough and going out and scrapping it out for us in the Apex card that really needed a fight like this on it. So that was incredible to watch. Moving on to the fights I actually picked. Boy, was I wrong on this one. Something about a war. We're not going to name the countries, but something about a war that's going on. I think it makes you different, dude. And I don't know if it was the time that Amosov took off or if I was just reading way too much into the Jason Jackson fight and severely overestimated Neil Magny's striking ability in this fight. Amosov makes quick, easy work of Neil Magny, and that's super impressive, especially getting it done on the ground with the wrestling, rolling it into what was it, I'm bad with the submissions, like Anaconda. It was a Darce, I believe, yeah, the way he sunk it up, used Neil's own leverage to create the angle to get the sub on the ground. It was a very, very good performance for Amosov. He looked a lot sharper on the feet, especially compared to that Jason Jackson fight. I mean, the dude was fighting for the Ukrainian army for that little queerbait Zelensky. So, you got to hand it to the guy going out and doing that for his home country, which who could blame the guy? I don't blame him at all. Fight for the homeland. And to step into the octagon, get signed to the UFC like 3 years later almost. Go out there and beat a vet of the sport in Neil Magny, who has been fraud checking people for years and years. And he couldn't fraud check Amosov, so I guess I'm going to, if you know history, I almost made a horrible joke. Get on the train, Amosov. I'm getting on the Amosov train, guys. That's not referring to the Soviet bloc or anything like that back in history. Nevertheless, though, it was very impressive. Looked quicker on the feet, moved around more than just straightforward and backward like I'd seen in his previous fights. So I'd say he's made improvements on the feet. His trips looked a lot better in the takedown, in the grappling department as well, and those are pretty hard to get against a long, rangy, high-level grappler, Neil Magny, who has pretty good balance. So I was very impressed with the performance. Horrible pick by me. But Amosov's good. He's a top 15 guy for sure. I'm still, I don't think he's championship material, especially with these guys in the top of the division. But depending on, how good Carlos Prates' wrestling defense is, that's a guy that, can go out there and grapple Carlos Prates to a win. So I'm interested to see what he does climbing up the ranks in the welterweight division. I'd go ahead and give him a top 15 guy for sure next. Maybe give him D-Rod just to get D-Rod out of the top 15 in the welterweight division. It's disrespectful to the rest of the great guys in the welterweight division. So, very impressive performance by Yaroslav Amosov. Very impressive guy, too. I mean, going to fight in a crazy war and then fighting in MMA, that's impressive. Moving on to Joe Anderson Brito and Isaac Thompson. I thought this fight would be more entertaining, but I was pretty spot on with my pick. Brito's physicality and strength was just way too much for Thompson. And on the feet, really, Thompson looked like the more slick, better striker. However, Brito was just able to get the better of the grappling and use his experience and physicality. This was a bit of a snooze fest, in my opinion. Nothing really crazy was happening. Isaac did give him a run for his money. In those first 2 rounds, I think the first round he may have won that on my scorecard. I honestly can't remember this fight all that well, if I'm being honest with you. I didn't find it that great and exciting. Something weird was going on when this fight was happening for me. Nevertheless, though, Brito gets it done pretty much exactly how I thought he was gonna get it done. I would have loved to see more explosions into combinations for Brito or more damage in general, but hey, gets it done veteran style with the grappling, making it grimy. Not the best fight, but spot on pick for your boy C. Nolan MMA. Okay, moving on to the absolute clinic. Okay, it wasn't like a clinic, but this was an easy, unanimous decision for King Green. I don't like calling him King Green. It's Bobby Green. But I don't know how they gave this a split. Lance Gibson Jr. is horrible. He's not UFC level whatsoever. He had 2 good takedowns. Did nothing with them. Green got back up pretty quick. Did really no damage besides a couple hooks he would land here and there in the first 2 rounds. But Green, just being the slicker, quicker guy on the feet, much more experienced, especially in the UFC. A guy for sure, he's out of his prime too. I'm worried about, you give Green someone decent in the lightweight division next. I don't know how well that works out for the guy. I'd maybe try to get another older guy in the lightweight division than retire. He does not look the same, especially his chin. He if you look back at that fight he had with Fiziev in 2020, 2021, he was right there with Fiziev, and he's nowhere near that level anymore, in my opinion. However, gets it done against a trash opponent, let's be honest. Split decision's absolutely bonkers to me. Green absolutely outdamaged him in every single round. But, I was happy for King Green. They gave him a little bum, put a little work on him, was walking him down, dancing. He's funny. He's fun. I've loved Bobby Green. He's funny, dude. Man, that's crazy, dude. I love that guy. Not the best fight either. Green had a couple exciting moments with some combinations towards the end of the fight, but again, spot on pick for your boy. Moving on to, what was this fight? Kennedy Nzechukwu cut Marcus Buchecha. The dude's not a fighter. Like, he is a guy trying to go do jiu-jitsu in a MMA fight in the UFC octagon against decent, below average heavyweights, let's be fair, Big Day and Nzechukwu. He just doesn't work. Like, he's pulling guard, rolling around on his back, like trying to hook legs and then just holding on to Nzechukwu's hips. I just thought it was pitiful. And also, Kennedy, man, that was a pitiful performance from him as well. Anytime he kind of hit Buchecha with anything, he had visible damage on his face. He does not like getting hit whatsoever, you can tell. As soon as any strike lands, he doesn't like it. Buchecha, he got a 10-8 in the second round. They took a point from Nzechukwu after the cup shot. Or, not the cup shot, the eye poke. Which I agree with. They need to do more. They need to enforce that more because that was awful. So I'm glad they did that. I hate that this fight went to a draw, though, because Kennedy did pretty much win the fight those first and third rounds. Buchecha just kind of smothered him for the second, so he got the 10-8. But, man, this was a horrible heavyweight fight. Nzechukwu, if he has another bad performance, cut him. Buchecha, cut him now. He doesn't want to be in there. He doesn't want to fight. And I hate the fact that the heavyweight division is so shallow in talent that this guy is in the UFC because he's obviously doing it for just a paycheck. Someone like told him he should go do this now. BJJ, you're not making like a crazy amount of money or anything. It was honestly pitiful to see. He's not a fighter. I'm not saying I'm a fighter, but he's not a fighter for sure. Like, I've watched enough of this sport to know, get him out of the octagon. I don't want to see him again, okay? It was stinky. That was hand up. Moving on. Jeez, man, I feel like I blinked and this fight was over. Starts off, they were a little tippy-tappy on the feet. Melquizael Costa Melky. My vitiligo, bro, I got it all over. Can you see it on my face? My eyelids? Poor guy took over all his body, but he's still handsome and a G, like me, like seeing all MMA. But nevertheless, they were kind of tippy-tappy, filling each other out for that first minute. Nasty head kick. Absolutely flatlines Morgan Chartier. It was brutal. Give Costa a top 15 guy. He deserves it. He's put in a lot of work in the UFC, put on a lot of good fights, has fought in the Apex I don't know how many times. Get him in an arena. He is a fun fighter. He's very good as well. He's very well-rounded, explosive, quick on the feet with power, solid grappling game, and he has some submissions up his sleeve. He deserves, in an arena, main card of a fight night, high up on the prelims on a pay-per-view. He against a borderline top 15 at minimum. The dude has put in a lot of work at featherweight, and I want to see him in a bigger fight. Morgan Chartier, he's a pretty highly touted prospect. Flatlines him with a nasty head kick. Melky deserves something more. He's done a lot for the UFC, especially if I was a UFC fighter, and especially if I'm Melquizael Costa, who's fought some pretty high-level featherweights, went to war for the UFC, all in the Apex, pretty much. I think his last 4 fights have been in the Apex. No crowd behind you. Like, the crowd would have been going bonkers after a head kick like this, and it's in the Apex, and all we hear is, wow! And, it's a hardcore's paradise. Now, I'm sick of the Apex, man, but especially, like, Marcus Buchecha, Kennedy Nzechukwu, I don't care if that's in the Apex. This should not be in the Apex. Like, the Sean Sharaf and Steven Asplin fight shouldn't have been in the Apex. Half of these fights, like, don't put them in the Apex. It's stupid. Only put, like, boring, no-name people in the Apex. Or, like, a fight is going to be boring, that's ranked or whatever, that you're main eventing. It's not a main event. This is the most retarded business model I've ever seen. Like, don't put good fighters in the Apex. Like, this should have not been on the Apex. Because I thought this was going to be a scrap. Melquizael gets an incredible head kick. So, I don't know. I'm just sick of the Apex. Especially, like, Melky, man, he deserves way better. Great win for him, though. Top 15 next. Moving on to Cesare Olasejek, just absolutely smothering Cesar Almeida. He just is like, it's like he has cinder blocks wrapped around his feet. Cesar Almeida, he just hardly moves at all. He had, like, you can tell, like, the pop on his strikes, the accuracy on a lot of them. It's there, but, like, just in the octagon with, it's mixed martial arts, it's not just kickboxing. Like, bro can't handle it. I think he should be cut as well. His performances have been pitiful. And I bet they're paying him a decent amount, honestly, because I bet they thought he'd be decent. Has the highly touted kickboxing background. I bet they paid him a little more than other, like, lower-level UFC guys. Cesare Olasejek, though, I thought that was impressive for him, being able to mix it up. He's quite a bit more athletic than his older brother, Miguel Olasejek. Pretty similar style still on the feet. He moves more diagonally and goes off angles better, which I like. Didn't see a whole lot of this in this fight. However, he was able to get the takedowns pretty easily and take no risk on the feet with a powerful, dangerous guy like Cesar Almeida. I don't blame him. It was boring, kind of, yes. But he also, he tried to do work on the ground. But I like seeing that from a guy like Cesare early in his career. Puts more confidence in... Gives me more confidence in him for his future opponents as he builds up in the middleweight division. So I think he's an interesting prospect. Not much to talk about, though, in this fight. Cesar Almeida is dog. He's bad. I'd cut him. Half the fighters that lose on the Apex, like, every time, they should be cut, and then they get, like, 3 more fights in the Apex, and you're just like, gosh, this is bad. Moving on to the co-main event, Kevin Vallejos, freaking, jeez, man. Spinning back fist KO to Giga Chikadze. And I thought it was impressive how in the second round he had the confidence to throw that. And, like, I doubt he, like, purposely, like, set up a spinning back fist. But the way he entered with the lead hook, working the body and the combination, getting Giga up against the fence. And, dude, that was, like, perfect. Like, spinning the way he did with that arm. And just, just absolutely put out Giga Chikadze. Giga Chikadze, I was really worried watching this fight. I picked Vallejos, and I was really leaning towards Giga all week. And in the first round, I was like, dude, he's doing what I thought he would. And I thought, he's going to win this fight, isn't he? But Vallejos, man, he's super tough. I like him, man. He's fun. Top 15 guy now. I think he's 24 years old. High level skill. I would still want to. I'm worried about his grappling, though, quite a bit. Especially with, like, how, I'm interested to see how he gets off bottom against a high-level grappler. But on the feet, whether in that first round, it wasn't a storm, but he got outstruck. Giga landed some solid kicks, was catching him on the outside a little bit, and Vallejos was just kind of standing at kicking range, which I thought was really dumb and weird. But that second round comes out, gets on the inside, works a boxing combination into a 6 spinning back fist against the cage. Incredible knockout performance by Vallejos. I hope we get the Gene Silva rematch. That was a sick Contender Series fight. That was super close. I hope we get that rematch in like 2 or 3 fights. That'd be sick. Moving on to the main event of the evening. Not much to talk about here. Manel Kape starches Brandon Royval. I thought it was a little early, but I was watching it slow-mo. And, like, Royval was out not only, like, on that shot that put Brandon Royval down on the feet. Like, he was pretty out of it, and then Manel Kape landed another strike that had Royval's eyes, like, he went out. And if they would have stopped it there, like, Royval would have been out, and it wouldn't have looked like it did. But Manel Kape hit him a second time as he's up against the cage, and it, like, woke up Royval. It was, like, one of the weirdest finishes I ever seen. So I don't, like, totally disagree with the stoppage at all. It looked like the ref was coming in to stop it as well when he seen that first. Like, that first, I don't know if it's his exact first ground strike, but then there was another one that, like, woke up Royval, and he came to after that, but then they had stepped in to stop the fight. I just think Brandon Royval, I thought he wouldn't get put on the back foot like he did that early, or at least also try to swing the momentum of each round with pressure of his own. But Manel Kape, he walks down these guys at flyweight. That's what he does. The last loss against Makayev, and that, he got out grappled. I don't even think that was a boring fight. That's all I kind of remember about that fight. Maybe I need to rewatch it. I believe Makayev's re-signed with the UFC now. Nevertheless, though, he's able to just walk down these flyweights, and I was super surprised he was able to do that in the first round against Royval and just flurry and land one big shot that gets his opponent hurt, and then he finishes it up quick. He's super athletic. He's a little unorthodox, especially, that's why I was leaning Kape at first when I made my prediction. I just trusted Royval, obviously wrong. But especially for like more of an orthodox like boxing pressure guy like Royval who just mixes in the leg kicks and the grappling, that pace and his like side-to-side movement with the hands down, I think it just surprises them too much too often. They're not able to find their range necessarily because they're already worried about those counter flurries from Manel Kape. So I thought that was super impressive beating a guy like Brandon Royval. My ideal world, hopefully Pantoja's back quick. Then we get the Van Pantoja rematch, and then do Manel Kape and Tatsuro Taira. Do that one in Japan, because I know Manel Kape's big in Japan because he fought in Risen. So that would be my ideal world. But it is an interesting debate to say they need to run Van versus a contender right now. Like everyone was Taira, beating Brandon Moreno and finishing him. Manel Kape just finished Brandon Royval, which is very impressive. He was on a good run, only losing to Pantoja really until he lost to Joshua Van this summer. But who do you give it to? Do you give it to Manel Kape, who just beat a guy that just lost to the champion, paper champion, or the number one contender, you could say? Or do you give it to Tatsuro Taira, who just finished a former champion, Brandon Moreno, one of the best flyweights of all time, a high-level mixed martial artist? However, Tatsuro Taira, his win before that was against an unranked guy who's Asiasi, so he's meh. He's not that great. And then, but Tatsuro had just lost to Brandon Royval. I don't know. That's interesting to me. I kind of lean Taira because Brandon Moreno was coming off back-to-back wins. However, he's 2-1 in his last 3. Manel Kape beats Royval, beats Asual Mabayev, who's a high-level guy who just beat Alex Perez, even though he kind of looked mid for a little bit in that fight until he got the late third-round finish. And did he lose to Makayev before that? Was that his last fight? I can't totally remember. That's going to be an interesting debate to see what happens. Especially, like, Tatsuro got a weird, should we have stopped that type of finish? Manel Kape gets a big KO. So, and let's be honest, both guys, Manel Kape and Tatsuro Taira, have 2 markets that the UFC wants to take advantage of. Ideal world, though, Pantoja, get back and get your rematch, man. And then run Kape and Tatsuro for the next title shot. That's the best case scenario. But if it's Van versus Kape or Taira, I would make a video over that, but it'd get no views. That's it for today, though, guys. Gotta call it there. Not a horrible Apex card, man. Not even gonna lie to y'all. I did not watch the first 3 fights. I just didn't care to. I mean, did anybody else get excited about these? Yeah. Yeah, but I tuned in right at the Sharaf Asplin start, and that was an incredible fight. Good finish, debut by Amosov. Should have been on the main card. Meh, not a great fight. Awesome. Meh, awesome. So at least we had some pretty high-level finishes, especially in the main event, co-main event, and then in the Costa Charrier fight. So could have been worse for sure. Things build up, too, from this. Kape maybe getting a title shot. Vallejos coming into the top 15. Young, highly touted prospects. So, I don't know. But that's it for today's video, guys. Please like and subscribe. C. Noel MMA, the young-based MMA YouTuber himself. That's me, guys. That's me. This guy. Like and subscribe. Comment below how sad you are there's no UFC these next 6 weeks. Because I don't know what I'm going to do. Like and subscribe.